Up until the 70s, the Central Highlands, as was all of Central Queensland, was agriculture, and that all changed with the resource sector coming, and changes for the better.
I think it was an opportunity for people and for the whole region to help with the diversification of the region.
We were BHP's first move into export coal, and really we were allowed a lot of flexibility in building, I suppose, our own culture and the way we worked and the way in which we operated. We made it a fun place.
And it was a fantastic opportunity for businesses and for other industries in town to have, businesses relocate to here to service the coal mines, which obviously then morphed into them helping other industries as well.
I think any time that a significant change happens, you have people that are drawn to that. There's a certain breed of people that go, you know what, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go to a reasonably remote place, take my family, I'm going to bunk in with a whole heap of blokes so I probably don't know very well, but I'm prepared to go out there and make a commitment. And those people have been what's driven, effectively, the spirit of our place.
Originally the mine was called Gregory Mine. It was purely open cut, that's what the drag lines were built for.
Gregory wasn't a long strip like a lot of the other mines on the Bowen Basin. It was a pot of subcrops which was a different sort of shape mine.
The first day there, it just looked like chaos. There was 2 drag lines still getting built, lots of little bits and pieces happening with drills and shovels, 1 drag line completed and about to walk off. It was a big hodgepodge. The workshops weren't completely finished, the offices weren't anywhere near done, and people were working out of dongas. But it all just came like mushrooms out of the ground. Everything got finished, everything got completed. We sort of started, I think, in the first 6 or 8 months with 30, 40 people, and ended up with about 400. So, it ends up being a big community.
Gregory started very well. It had a good workforce, well equipped, and it was a coal that was really in demand because the Japanese loved blending coal, and Gregory was a high fluidity, low ash coking coal, and a little bit of Gregory added a lot more value to a lot of other coal. So 1 + 1 = 3. That's why people wanted Gregory in the market.
Good thing about Gregory open cut was in the early days was, as we know, the cattle industry around here has ups and downs, and I do know a lot of farmers got short-term work at the open cut. They had the skill for machinery and stuff, so they slotted in and suited them.
Yeah, probably the reason why I ended up going and getting a job over at Crinum, we had a bit of a drought on at the time, and things were pretty dry, weren't making too much income here, so the job in the mine helped us sort of hang on to the place.
It was really good for the community as far as that goes.
In those early days, it was basically you got a job mainly built on your reputation. If you were known as a good worker and a good operator or whatnot, you got a job without too much hassle.
It was the original culture that was started. It was family-based and it was community-based, and it was a good, productive mine.
A happy workforce is a productive workforce, and the guys were always happy to come to work. And if you've got a happy workforce, things just happen. It's pretty easy. We were the first mine in the country, if not the world, to mine within 20 metres of a major water aquifer. And we did it successfully. From the get-go, Crinum had a very good reputation throughout the industry as a high performer in productivity. And the very first year we kicked off the longwall in 1997. We were recognised as one of the top undergrounds in the world. We produced 3.5 million tonne first year against a budget of 2.8. In 2000, we were the top producing mine in Australia. It was the first time we cracked 5 million. And the latter parts of the life of the mine, we were producing 6 and 7 million tonne a year, which is world-class performance.
And I know the one crew we were involved in, which I was involved in, which was a good crew, we ended up pulling 45 chocks in one shift, which there was no one else in Australia has ever done that. Well, I don't think it's still hadn't been beaten yet. No one got hurt, so even better.
It was different, especially being, the first female starting at Crinum. A lot of women think that they can go into the industry and, it's going to be easy, I'm going to get a big paycheck, but I don't have to work real hard. In the underground, it's quite different. You have to work very hard. You have to gain respect.
It's a common story for most people that you're going underground to get yourself ahead, earn the big bucks, and then I'm going to get out in 3 or 4 years. I think I've heard that 1,000 times, that story. So, and that was probably my story in the beginning. But once you actually get to the underground and you begin to work in that environment, it's a close-knit environment. Like you're working alongside a lot of guys, which, if you're that way orientated, which I was, I enjoy the camaraderie, I guess, of that crew situation versus other jobs where you may work alone. And I think once you get into that surrounding, it's very infectious.
I think what drew me to the underground was the fact that it was such a confined space and you had to rely on everybody. So it was being part of a team. So you had your part to play in that team, and I think if you're ever going to bond with someone or bond with a group of people, it's in a situation where it is relying on so many others to achieve. And I think that was what the draw card was. It was about building relationships and working together as a team.
You spend more time with some of those guys underground that you probably do with your wife and your kids at home. So that does become a bit of an extended family, and obviously with the high risk and what goes with the nature of the beast, I guess you put a lot of faith in people around you, and as they do you.
One of the things that always amazed me was to be a State of Origin match coming up in Brisbane. So they obviously started in 1980. But the State of Origin match had come up, and the boys at Gregory, the 3 or 4 or 5 unions, whatever there was, would call a strike because there was not 2-ply toilet paper or whatever it was. And they'd have 48 hours off. Company would fly into Brisbane to do an industrial relations hearing, and the State of Origin just happened to be on at the same time. It was amazing how many times that happened. There was an event on in Brisbane. One of the blokes who could tell you about it is Paul Bell, current councillor, former mayor of Emerald, and he was an ETU rep at the time around those years, so he would be able to confirm or deny my view.
A lot of the union guys, including myself, we lined ourselves up to state conferences, which were always around State of Origin in Brisbane time. So we used to spend every year down in Brisbane State of Origin.
For a while there, it was interesting. Those aficionados of supercar racing and V8s and Australians are, fundamentally, there's a small rev head in each one of us. But I think if you ask someone, what are the fastest vehicles on the road in Central Queensland, people would say a 4-door Hilux ute heading towards Gregory Crinum on the Lilyvale Road. So I'm sure that's quite inappropriate, but the reality was, I'm sure that at times to time there were characters that were fundamentally chasing a record that's not recorded anywhere, but there would be a few people that would know about it.
Some of the pranks that the boys used to get up to would be like putting a bird in someone's locker so when he came it'd fly out, and setting a bucket full of water up so that when he opened his locker it'd trigger a mechanism and the bucket of water would tip over him. There were some worse ones which I won't mention.
When we were working underground, and I was down on the continuous miner, a crew of about 6 of you, and now and again they'd send some young fellas, new starters down. We used to, they'd be over there working on their rig, putting bolts in the rib or in the roof. You get a little pebble and just dob it on their helmet, and they'd look up, looking up, and I think, gee, the bloody roof's going to fall down, And they go back to work, and you get another stone and you drop it on there. Be looking around. We used to have a little bit of fun with them.
We can always, I suppose, in a quantifiable manner, look at the dollars that companies have invested, and look at the returns and hard infrastructure that has been built in lots of our places. But at the end of the day, it's the people that make the difference, and there's no greater example of the value of that until there is a time when you're in strife and you have to rely on people.
So in 2011, Emerald was hit by flooding, which impacted the workforce, so they couldn't travel to Crinum Mine or Gregory, and cut the whole town off. It also cut different sections of the town, so it was very limiting where you could travel and what you could do. A lot of people were inundated with Their homes were inundated, they had to evacuate, and a lot of them at short notice, and they had to just try and get out. BMA made the decision to try and support people in the community. Community care came to the fore, and BMA set up a command centre, for want of a better word, in town, and we all went from there.
They did a lot that people never seen. You know, you couldn't keep on track as to how they helped anyone that needed to be helped.
We didn't need an army, we didn't need mud armies, we just had the men and women of our mining companies that were really standing up beside emergency services people, and you probably have never got the opportunity to really say thank you in the most appropriate way to those people, and they certainly don't expect it, but that was a fantastic contribution to those men and women, and it wasn't that they were forced to do that, they wanted to do that, and that's a big difference.
In our world, there's corporate speak around social licence to operate or licence to operate, and effectively, it's about having relationships with people that are trusting and doing the right thing.
The community-based culture that was at Gregory Crinum, I think, was unique to the mining industry there. We had people who just genuinely care and concern for their workmates, but for the community in general.
BMA Gregory Crinum has played an enormous role in strengthening our community from our perspective as a charitable organisation, and we're particularly thankful to them for the contributions that they've made, not just to us, but to building inclusive communities.
The end of Gregory Crinum Mine is certainly the end of an era. It's an end of an era for BMA and BHP, but it's also, it's a positive time too. There's an opportunity for the mine to move into a new phase, and that offers opportunities for our region.
My working career at Crinum, if I look back over my 20 years of underground mining experience, they were the best 10 years of my working career.
The locals that lived here and worked here looked forward to coming to work every day, understood that every day was a good day for BMA and good day for themselves, which reflected in the tonnages and the life cycle of the joint.
Our people go on to do other things with other mines, with other entities in other capacities, but they take that core value, standard of work, professionalism with them, and that's recognised.
I think the old saying is what happens underground stays underground, and if you want to go and talk to one of those guys about some of those stories, one will be the truth and one will be a lie.
you.